You want to be in the video? People have been asking about you. They're like, where's Nyla? Nyla. It's very shy. Hi everyone, this is Tina with Overall Adventures. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm excited that you're here, and there's going to be a time where I talk about books, but I can't just talk about books because I'm obsessed with journaling, so I'm going to add, what I did is I took Ariel Bissett's end of year tag, and I'm going to do that tag, but I also adapted each question to fit a journaling kind of end of year tag reflection. So if you want to do this tag, you could choose if you want to do the book one, or you want to do the journal one, or you want to do them both. So up to you. Also disclaimer that the books that I'm mentioning in this video are for adults. There's a couple that are YA, and I know that I have some former students that are watching this video, and not all of these are for you. Understood? Okay, so also if you want to follow me on Goodreads, that's kind of where, for more information about like what I read and all that, you could do that too in the description. Okay, so the first question. Yeah, currently reading 5 books, which admittedly that's the most even for me. I started off before I met my husband as like one book at a time kind of gal, and then he's just like brought me over to this dark side of like reading a bunch of things at the same time. But I realized like for me, nonfiction and poetry, I can't just like sit down and just like read it straight through. I like poetry, I like to take in small bites, and nonfiction I also like to take in small bites. So I always kind of try to have a poetry book and a nonfiction book like going on in the background that I could read like slow. And then I've got my like fast, high powered like fiction, which is just like, I love. So for poetry, I'm reading Devotions by Mary Oliver. It's taken me quite a bit of time to get through it. I like it, but I'm not like, I should say I love a lot of poems. I love her work, but I'm not like loving this entire book in itself, and I'm not exactly sure why. So that's that. My other nonfiction book, my nonfiction book that I'm reading is let me get it right, The Hidden Life of Trees, and that is all about the secret language of trees. And if you know me, I'm just like obsessed with trees, so it's just so cool to actually learn more about the science behind trees and how they communicate. So if that interests you, you should definitely check it out, because I mean it's not, I don't know, it's not too sciencey, which I like. I can still like feel like I understand what's going on, and I can also just now see the forest in such a different way. I'm also reading, this was from a subscriber recommended this to me, and I was like, what? I did not know she did this. The Selected Journals of Lucy Maud Montgomery. What? I didn't know. I've loved Anne of Green Gables. I didn't know that Lucy Maud Montgomery had journaled pretty much every single day since she was 14, which is when I started journaling. So I knew I had to go get this. This is from the library. I really don't own a lot of books, as you're gonna see. I really try to, I don't know, I think books are meant to be passed around and meant to be loved. So I usually just get my books used. If I buy it at all, usually I'm just a library kind of gal. So this one, we had to, like, me and the librarian, we had to find this. We hunted for this through multiple different libraries. So she was able to get this for me, and it's so good. It's so edited, but it's so good. I know that Lucy Maud, like, she recopied all of her journals into like the same kind of looking ledger books, and then she passed those ledger books onto her son, and then she burned her journals, her original journals. That's fierce. I could not burn my journals, but I recognize, I mean, it just feels like things are cut out, which I get, you know, like, hey, if I'm going to publish my journals to all of you to read, probably would limit some of the stuff that I would want to say or write as well. But, you know, because we don't always come to our journals in the best headspace. If you watched one of my previous videos on anger, you know that. But yeah, so love it. I'm also reading Delicates by Brenna Thumler. Love graphic novels, love the colors. It's a sequel to Sheets, which I just loved, and it's like, it's so fall, so loving that. And then last but not least, I'm reading by Heather Mattern, who is also a YouTuber and one of my friends. She sent me this, her newest book, The Wild Sexy Marriage. So my husband and I are reading this together, and it's just like, oh, it's perfect for people like, I don't know, me and us, I'm gonna say, is our little community here, because it combines journaling prompts with this kind of deep introspection on marriage. And I'm just loving it. Like, there's like a little reading section, and then there's a consider this, which is a journaling prompt. And I've just like tore up this book already so far, and my husband and I are finding it really helpful. So if you're interested, I'm going to include the link to check out Heather's book in the description box. Ooh, spicy. So to bring us to a journaling question, yeah, sure, okay. I have a bullet journal. This is a Baron Fig, not quite A5 size. I don't know. Yeah, it's a journal. It's just a really plain bullet journal, which is like how my style has evolved over time. And will I finish it by the end of the year? No, but this is a notebook, yes, that I keep going. And then I also have the Traveler's Notebook, and I've got right now in it a Leuchtturm, pocket size. I am just like crushing this little thing. I love it, but I don't know if I can keep this up because I'm like more than halfway through, and I started it in September and it's still September. So I think I need a thicker, I know I need a thicker, smaller notebook. So I love the Leuchtturm. Wow, it's awesome. But also I'm just crushing it too quickly for my liking and for my wallet. So that's a thing. I've got just a little junky A6 notebook here that I had gotten when I was in Thailand. And that's where my husband and I are doing all of Heather's wild, sexy marriage prompts. And then I've also got, I forgot it, but I do have like a little tiny field notes. Oh no, it's right here. Hello. I have a little field notes notebook, and that's where I've been keeping my YouTube stuff. So that's it. I don't have a dream journal. I don't have a reading journal. I just have like 2 little scrap guys, a bullet journal, and my regular journal. So that's where I'm at. Yes, I do. Thank you so much for asking. Well, I've never read Stephen King, so that's on my mind. Stephen King is on my mind for the fall, especially now that I'm living in like a northern cold climate. I'm like, oh, yes, please. Like, and I've heard Misery is a really good place to start. My husband loves it. I've never read it. Yeah. So Misery is probably where I'm going to start for the fall. I don't know if it's very autumnal, but Stephen King feels autumnal to me. But for the flip side, I also feel like there's this cozy autumnal vibe that I love. And for that, I'm going to read My Neighbor Totoro, because I'm obsessed with Studio Ghibli, because who isn't? And I've never read Totoro before. Oh, I didn't even know it was a book. So that's on my list for sure. But I cannot finish this question without recommending you an autumnal read, okay? And this is very serious, because it's my favorite book, probably of all time. And nobody talks about it, and I don't know why people don't talk about it. And it's not for everyone, okay? I like really, really heavy, dense, lyrical writing, okay? I like what I, in my mind, call like microfiction, which is like, I made it up, I don't know if that's a thing, but like zooming in, like when an author zooms into like the most minute details and just takes forever describing like such a small, simple thing in life. Like I'm about that, okay? And if you're about that, like I'm about that, but you're also about like witches and stuff, and just like good writing. And the 80s, the book that you have to read this Halloween or for around this autumnal season is We Ride Upon Sticks by Quan Berry. I read it last summer and I was like, why am I reading this in the summer? This is a fall book. But I just want you to think, Salem, Massachusetts, witches, field hockey, a girls' field hockey team in the 80s. It's so good. It's so good, okay? All the references, I love it. I love it. If I could recommend one fall book to you, it's that, okay? Also, yeah, if we could go classics, Dorian Gray, amazing. We could also go like more new contemporary fiction. We could go Mexican Gothic. Just such good atmosphere for the fall. What else did I write down? Obviously, Anne of Green Gables. We could go fantasy. Dune is coming out soon. If you haven't read Dune, it's a great fall read in my opinion. Or we could even go Studio Ghibli vibes with The Traveling Cat Chronicles. I feel like it's not a Studio Ghibli movie, but it's so just charming and lovely. So those are my fall recommendations to you if, you're looking for a fall read. I could not say those books, but yeah. Okay. Yeah, like I said, I'm in this little Leuchtturm. My fall journal. Usually it's, as a teacher, usually it's like, this is like high go time for me. So I don't usually journal too much in the fall. It's more like I journal as like stress relief, I find, in the fall, as well as usually I'm undergoing some kind of change. So I'm usually kind of processing big life changes at this point. And I'm always craving more to like describe nature and just capture that essence of that coziness of those leaves changing in my journal. No, I'm not really good. I don't know how to follow. I don't know when to know about new releases. I don't really, yeah, no. Bree from Documented Journey was helping me try to figure out like my next notebook, because the Leuchtturm is awesome, but it's too thin for me. So I need something thick, and she helped me settle on A6 Naname Cafe Notes. So that's coming in the mail, and it should be like a chunkier A6 smaller size notebook. So I'm looking forward to that. Ooh, well, Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan. I don't know if this is, yeah, graphic novel. Again, I love like girls in the 80s, like working together as a team. I don't know what it is. I'm just so into it. Beast of Extraordinary Circumstance by Ruthie M.E. Lang. And then the last one that I want to read is The Tradition by Jericho Brown, poetry. I'm really into and want to learn more about nature journaling. I also want to get better at indexing my journal as I go, meaning usually what I do is I just like write in my journal and word vomit and do what I need to do, and then when I finish the book, the actual notebook, I go back and try to index the whole thing, but I really dread doing that and I don't enjoy that. So I want to try to get better at doing that as I write. And then I also want to do more tree maps. So if you haven't checked out my previous video on journaling for anger, recently kind of came up with this idea of using a visual of a tree to help kind of process some emotion, and I want to do more of that. Honestly, I'm going to say no, because I feel like I've already had this experience where I was at a thrift store, it was July, no big deal, found a cool book, whatever, picked it up, and then I just started reading it, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? Like, where did this come from? I've not heard people talk about this book. Like, it just, I found it to be so good. Yeah. This is an adult book, okay? There is some sexual abuse triggers that I will let you know up front, but The Nix by Nathan Hill, wow. Okay, it's political, and it has that kind of microscopic writing that I really, really love. It can be tedious at times. It is 600 pages, but oh my god, it's dense and beautiful, and like, it took this guy 10 years to write this book, and you can tell, kind of thing. It's just fabulous. Okay, and yeah, so I feel like I already had that experience with this guy, but I don't know. Yeah, I think all the books that are on my Autumn TBR I'm gonna love too, so yeah. Well, classic for me would always be my Lamy pen with just my gray ink. It is a workhorse. It's just old reliable. So that's, I can't not mention this, but definitely it would be Bree's Traveler's Notebook. This cork cover, specifically this wheat, man, it's like velvety and soft, and it's just been exactly what I needed for this time. My kind of overall goal when I think about reading is, I always think about, like, I try for 50 books a year, I try for a book a week, unless I read 5 books at the same time. And I like thinking about reading as casting a big net. I don't want to just read fiction. I don't want to just read nonfiction. I don't want to just read white authors. I don't want to just read straight authors. I don't want to just read, things from the 1800s, though I have to admit I really love classics, right? I really try to cast a wide net when it comes to time period, when it comes to authors of color, when it comes to queer authors, when it comes to international reads. Like, I try to just spread it out, like, and really think about and be intentional. Like, am I reading enough graphic novels? Am I reading enough poetry? So I will just continue that practice. But that being said, I'm really loving reading journals, like Lucy Maud Montgomery's journals, and I thought that could be kind of a cool mini focus for the year, would be to look at other authors' published journal collections, just because that's a passion of mine and something it's just been really cool to read other people's journals. No, I don't plan really journals too much. no, I'm just going to continue with my like really simple, trusty bullet journal spreads that I do every single time, and I will continue with my kind of stream of conscious, open-ended journaling habit. And then, like I said, I'd really like to do more nature journaling. I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't have a routine or anything like that, but yeah, that's kind of an intention I want to set forth, is more nature journaling. And I'm loving the smaller sizes, so sticking with that A6 or pocket kind of size is working out for me. So that's it. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed listening to me talk about books and journals. Peace.